welcome to our evening session with our Peace Corps partner, Thomas, who you'll be hearing from very soon. My name is Cherie Merrill. I work in the Study Abroad and Global Engagement Office as the Associate Director. And so I'll just be kind of in the background helping to facilitate the session. I did just want to go over a couple of things before we get started. We are recording this session. I think it should have asked your permission when you entered. So hopefully you did get the opportunity to opt out if you don't want to be part of this recording. Please, just during the presentation, if you could keep yourselves muted to reduce some background noise, interference, that would be great. We will have a time to answer questions. If it's something you are worried about forgetting, please just type it into the chat so that we can track the questions and make sure that we get to everybody's question before the end of the session. And if for whatever reason you do have to leave early, don't worry, we are recording this and we will be uploading this session to our website after the expo ends in a couple of days. So there will be an opportunity to revisit everything that's being discussed today. So without further ado, I just want to go ahead and again, let Thomas take over. I'll stop sharing my screen and it's all you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm gonna share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. All right, can you see it?
Yes, I can see it. Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Thomas Valilla, he, him, his, él. I am a Peace Corps diversity recruiter, and I had the honor and privilege to serve in the beautiful land of Zambia from 2017 to 2019 as an agriculture volunteer. I am your local recruiter. So if you're interested in applying, please let me know. I would be more than happy to answer your questions. Here you can see my email and my phone number. I am an open book, so feel free to ask any questions. You can also put them in the chat box. All right, so my presentation is going to be divided into 3 parts. So in the first part, I'm going to talk briefly about the Peace Corps, what we do, our mission, our goals, and where we serve. Then in the second part, I'm going to share my Peace Corps story. So I have some cool pictures from service, and I hope you enjoy. And then in the last part, I'm going to open the floor. So if you have any questions, just let me know, and please feel free to put them in the chat box. All right, so let's get started. So Peace Corps was founded in 1961 by John F. Kennedy. For 60 years, we have sent US citizens abroad to serve in communities for 2 years and 3 months. Our mission is to promote world peace and friendship through community-based development. However, we also have 3 goals that we are constantly aiming to fulfill. The first one is to help the people of interested countries in meeting their need for trained men and women. So I was able to fulfill this goal by transferring skills, knowledge, and attitudes as it relates to fish farming. So I had the honor to collaborate with fish farmers, community leaders, head teachers, nurses, and community health workers. And we all worked together to address different issues. For instance, malaria, HIV/AIDS, and also we were able to promote fish farming with the goal of increasing fish production and improving food security. All right, so the second goal is to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served. So this goal was really meaningful to me. A little bit about my background. I was born in New Jersey, but I moved to Costa Rica, Central America, when I was 4 years old. And I never went back to New Jersey. So I lived in Costa Rica for 20 plus years. Spanish is my first language. So when I joined the Peace Corps, it was really meaningful because I was able to share my story and my background and represent US diversity abroad. So it was really meaningful to have very genuine conversations with the Zambians as it relates to ethnicity, as it relates to language, to cultures, backgrounds, and what have you. So to me, it was really meaningful because I was able to really own my story, my narrative during service. And that was really, really meaningful to me. And then the last goal is to help promote a better understanding of other peoples on the part of Americans. So when you become a volunteer, you would become an advocate for your host country. So for instance, during pre-service training, so during the first 3 months of my service, sometimes my family and friends in Costa Rica, but also here in the US, sometimes they would ask me, how is everything in Africa? Do you like African food? Right? So then I would be like, well, actually, I am in Zambia. Africa is not a monolith. So I had very interesting conversations with my family and friends. And after, 2, 3 months, they would always ask about Zambian culture, about, tribes, languages, food. So to me, it was really meaningful to just share how beautiful Zambian culture is. Also, returned Peace Corps volunteers, when they come back to the US, they become advocates for equality and accountability. So where we serve, so we serve in 63 countries. I know it can be a little bit overwhelming, but yes, we do have a lot of options and we have 6 sectors and you can see them here on this slide. Right now, we are not sending volunteers abroad because of the pandemic. We actually had to evacuate 7,000 volunteers last year, March 2020. It was a very challenging moment for our organization, but we made it. So right now we are accepting applications on a rolling basis because once we resume operations, we're going to need a lot of volunteers. As you can see, host countries are really, really excited to have volunteers again when it is safe to do so. So there are 2 different ways to apply right now. So you can apply to a specific region / sector, let's say education volunteer in Latin America or agriculture volunteer in Africa. So that would be option 1. Then option 2 would be to serve where needed most. If you were to take this path, our placement team would find the perfect fit for you according to your skill set, background, language skills, volunteer, and work experience. So benefits during service. So once you become a volunteer, everything is going to be covered by the federal government. However, you might have to pay out of pocket some expenses before you become a volunteer, because during the application process, you would have to schedule a lot of medical appointments because we have a very robust medical and legal clearance. However, we do provide refunds. But just keep in mind that you might have to pay upfront. So once you become a volunteer, you're going to have a living stipend, housing is going to be provided, most likely by your host family, medical and dental coverage. Actually, I had an amazing health insurance plan, and the Peace Corps medical office was absolutely fantastic. We had doctors and nurses in Zambia who would support volunteers 24/7. Great news, you can defer loans during service, and also you can cancel them if you're part of the loan forgiveness program. We also have vacation time. You're going to have fun. You're going to be able to travel. For some reason, I thought that I was going to be in a village for 2 years, but that wasn't the case. I had the opportunity to visit other Peace Corps volunteers. I went to Malawi for a week with my friends, and I also did South Africa, which was absolutely beautiful. And of course, a lot of professional development opportunities, a lot of trainings. The trainings that we provide are top notch, especially because we partner with local organizations. So for instance, I was a fish farming volunteer. So all the trainers that we had, they were actually government officials from the Department of Fisheries. So all the information, all the knowledge that we got was coming from a local perspective, which was really, really helpful. So benefits after serving. So once you become a returned Peace Corps volunteer, once you finish your service, we would provide something we called the readjustment allowance. So it's pretty much a transition fund for you to move on. So we provide from $8,000 to $9,000 in transition funds. We have graduate school benefits as well. So if you want to get your master's, your PhD after service, you can definitely do that and take advantage of the partnerships that we have. And I'm gonna share some examples and some opportunities on the next slide. Professional networking, the Peace Corps family is absolutely fantastic. And they have become my extended family. We are in the federal sector, in the private sector, in the nonprofit world. We are pretty much everywhere. We are more than 250,000 returned Peace Corps volunteers. So it's really, really, really useful and beneficial to have a strong and robust network, especially if you're interested in launching your career and advancing your career in general. Federal employment advantages, we provide something called NCE, which stands for non-competitive eligibility. So it means that you would have a fast pass when applying to federal jobs. So that's how I got the job that I have right now. So I finished my service. I used that NCE status. I had 2 interviews. I submitted my application, but they had a Peace Corps roster where they would pull out resumes for returned volunteers. I work for Peace Corps, but a lot of my friends are working for the CDC, State Department, Homeland Security, National Park Service, USDA, USAID. So if you're interested in working for the federal government, Peace Corps is a fantastic stepping stone. But also a lot of my colleagues work in the private sector as well. Interesting fact, the CEO and co-founder of Netflix, Reed Hastings, was a Peace Corps volunteer in the early 80s in Eswatini. And also we provide access to affordable health insurance 1 month after finishing your service. So I was talking about the Coverdale Fellowship Program on the previous slide. So here you can see some of the partnerships that we have with US institutions. So as you can see, they provide a lot of financial aid. It really depends on the program. Some programs are more expensive than others, but again, they do provide support, and a lot of them cover from 25 to 100% tuition. So we have programs from social work, nursing, engineering, creative writing, communications, public health, you name it. We have a lot of options, and I really encourage you to explore our website. More opportunities here. As you can see, we partner with different universities, and we actually have more than 100 partnerships, and we have more than 200 programs for returned Peace Corps volunteers. Job openings, as I mentioned before, we're not sending volunteers abroad, but we're accepting applications on a rolling basis. As you can see, we hope to resume operations by the end of this year or early 2022. The application process takes almost a year because it's really robust, right? We want to make sure you're going to be able to serve safely abroad. So we want to make sure you have all the documentation, all the paperwork, and all the medical exams. So now I want to share my Peace Corps story. So actually I served in Zambia. So I wonder if someone knows where Zambia is. Let's see, you can guess in the chat box. Actually, when I received my invitation letter, I didn't know Zambia was a country. So I had to Google it. So Zambia is a beautiful landlocked country in sub-Saharan Africa, and they have more than 70 tribes, therefore more than 70 languages. I had the honor and privilege to learn Bemba, which is a Bantu language. And I really, really enjoyed learning a new language. It was really challenging, but it was really, really meaningful. And it was the best tool to connect with people and build genuine relationships. So now I want to share more pictures from service. So here you can see my beautiful host family. They were absolutely supportive, welcoming, and fantastic. You can see them on the bottom. You can see my host dad, my host mom, and my host siblings. To the top left, you can see my house, my little yellow hut. It was a brick house. I had very basic living conditions. It was really difficult in the beginning to adjust, but I really enjoyed just having a simple life and being connected with nature. I didn't have running water, no electricity, and no phone coverage. So it was really hard to stay connected with my family and friends, but I had an amazing host family and wonderful friends in Ungulula, and that really helped me to overcome a lot of challenges. And to the top right, you can see the view that I had in front of my house. I would experience beautiful sunsets every single day. And that's one of my host dad's fish ponds, because he is a fantastic fish farmer, such an amazing role model, such a rock star. And my host mom, hardworking, welcoming, hospitable, wonderful people. Actually, I'm still in contact with them. It's kind of hard sometimes because they don't have phone coverage, but I am in contact with my host brothers who actually have a smartphone, so it's easier to stay in contact with them. This is inside my house. As you can see, I had a very basic living conditions, a very small kitchen. That white thing on that table is actually the filter that I would use every day to just filter water and drink it, because I would have to fetch water from the furrow/river every day. So I have like all my spices, my food in bags and such, my living room, my Peace Corps bike. Actually, that day I got a flat tire. So it took me like almost 2 hours to get to the provincial capital. And then on the top right, you can see something that I would use to actually get a phone coverage. So I would leave my phone there for hours to send a text message. And now it's like, well, I can stream absolutely everything. I can binge watch Netflix. I couldn't do that during service. So it was kind of like shocking to have like, all the technology and all the commodities, here in the US. So that was part of like the readjusting process. So I was a fish farming volunteer. So I promoted fish farming along with community leaders with the goal of improving food security and increasing fish production. So here you can see a fish pond harvest. It would be absolutely fantastic. We would have a lot of fun. People would bring a lot of food. It would be a great way to practice Bemba and to connect with people. You can see my friends using a fish net to collect the fish. And then that's actually what you see in the corner of the fish pond is actually a compost crib. And they would use that to put organics, because you want to have green water so fish can get their protein through algae. So that's why you want to have green water, but it cannot be super green, because then fish wouldn't have oxygen to survive. And you can see here on the top right, my wonderful mentor and friend, Ba Precious. She actually works for the Department of Fisheries, and she was so supportive, and she just provided awesome insights and wonderful. She provided a lot of tips and tricks as it relates to fish farming. So she was absolutely instrumental during my service. And then here you can see a picture of my friend Bamayo. Bamayo actually harvested 4 of her fish ponds this day, and the amount of fish was absolutely overwhelming. It was great, and actually they were able to sell fish and all of it actually that day. And with the money that they collected, they were able to send their kids to school that year. And also they were able to build a house. So I was very, very happy for them. And that day they gave me 3 big fish. And I actually cooked them that day. So it was really nice and rewarding. Also, I had the opportunity to collaborate with the local clinic, and I also was the Peace Corps Zambia Malaria Committee coordinator. So I collaborated with provincial coordinators, community leaders, nurses, and doctors in different provinces in order to address malaria, which is a tropical disease, which is spread by a mosquito. Actually, malaria is a parasite that attacks liver cells and kills a lot of people in Zambia. So I developed and implemented secondary projects along with community leaders and community health workers. So here you can see on the top right, a bed net demonstration, because we would encourage people to use bed nets, right, in order to avoid mosquito bites. And then on the bottom right, you can see myself with my friends just distributing bed nets. Actually, that day we were able to distribute 415 bed nets. And that would definitely reduce the exposure to the disease. HIV/AIDS prevention. Actually, I had fantastic counterparts. You can see on the top left, my friend Bamayo, and to the top right, my friend Frederick. They were so supportive and extremely, extremely resourceful, because let me tell you, it would be really hard to, talk about sex education in Bemba. So it was very nice to have them as a support system, and they pretty much ran the show. I was behind the scenes, just making sure everything was fine. Everyone had resources and materials, but it was so much fun. We collaborated with the school, and it was a great opportunity to just connect with students and just implement sex education projects. I also had a lot of fun. So as I mentioned, volunteers get 48 days of vacation time. So I had the opportunity to visit national parks. I did whitewater rafting in the Zambezi River. It was terrifying, but it was a lot of fun at the same time. I went to Tauluangwa National Park with my friends Bob and Stephanie, and we saw a lot of animals. Yep, that's a baby elephant. It was so, so cute. And we saw zebras, giraffes, and a lot of, lions and such. So it was a great experience to just, admire Zambia's beauty. Also, I had the opportunity to travel. So I did South Africa with my friends. We went to Cape Town for 2 weeks. It was so much fun. I did have to afford this trip because that's something that, of course, Peace Corps is not gonna cover, but I had some savings, so that was really, really helpful. And I really had a blast with my friends in South Africa. So that's pretty much my Peace Corps story in a nutshell. I can talk about Peace Corps for hours because it's a really, really complex experience and organization in general. But I want to open the floor just to answer some of your questions. So feel free to put them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. Let's see, is there any requirements to apply? Yes, so we only have 2 basic requirements. So you have to be a US citizen and be at least 18 years old. So those are the basic requirements that we have. Having a college degree is not a requirement, but it would make you very competitive. So you're studying right now, so I think it's really important to finish your program, right? And then during your senior year, you can contact me, and then we can start working on your application. I would be more than happy to look over your resume, motivation statement, and also I conduct mock interviews. So that's why if you connect with a recruiter, you're 55% more likely to become a volunteer. But those are the 2 basic requirements that we have. Now, every job opening has different requirements because each country is very different, right? And they are the ones setting the requirements. So for instance, Latin America, right? You definitely need to speak Spanish in order to be competitive, right? If you want to serve in Western Africa, French, right? But if you speak Korean, Chinese, German, you name it, that's going to be very valuable because we appreciate people with strong language skills. So you can definitely visit our website, peacecorps.gov, and see all the openings that we have because each position has different requirements. Let's see, there's another one. Would you be able to share your contact information? Yep, 100%. Actually, I have my contact information right here on this slide. Here you can see my email, my phone number. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Just let me know. But again, if you want to share some of your questions, you can put them in the chat box as well.
Every time I hear your presentation, I'm always like, it's not too late. Is there an age limit?
We don't have an age limit, so it's never too late. Yeah, so we don't have an upper age limit. So actually, one of my good friends, Patty, she is a retired biologist, and she served in Zambia with me. She was in my intake as well. Also, my friend Dale, he is a retired family doctor, and he was a health volunteer in Zambia. So it's never too late. It really depends on, your career goals and such. I know people who, do the Peace Corps right out of college, fresh out of college. I did Peace Corps 2 years after finishing my undergrad program in Costa Rica, because I worked for a nonprofit for 2 years. And then I did the Peace Corps, right? But a lot of my friends from my intake did the Peace Corps right after college. A lot of like mid-career professionals as well, people with masters, with PhDs. So you just meet people from different walks of life. We assess applications holistically. So it's not only about your degree, it's about what you can bring to the table. It's about your soft skills. It's about your hard skills as well, intercultural competencies, language skills, and such. And I think that Peace Corps is a fantastic way to advance your career because, you can gain international experience for free pretty much. And something that I really like to see on resumes is study abroad experience, because that's such a great way to really gain valuable experience, right? When you study abroad, you can definitely, enhance your intercultural competencies, learn a new language, and all of those skills are going to be very useful when you join the Peace Corps. So when I see study abroad experiences on resumes, I'm always super excited because I know the applicant is going to be able to highlight a lot of important foundational skills.
We have one question from Ashley Musino who's asking, do openings change every year or are they roughly the same?
Great question. So actually openings change because we have different cycles. We have different quarters as well. And every country has, different programming, right? For instance, in Zambia, we have 4 programs. So we have education, health, agriculture, and environment. So in February, they will receive fish farming volunteers and agriculture volunteers. And then in August, they would receive education volunteers and health volunteers. So the cycles are different and the application process takes from 6 to 10 months. So for instance, if you wanted to be a fish farming volunteer in Zambia, you would probably depart in February. So you would probably have to apply by July the previous year, right? So it's really important to keep in mind that openings change every quarter, right? Right now, we do have positions, but the positions that we have are very limited because April 1st usually doesn't have a lot of options, right? Because of the programming of the countries. But then we have July 1st, that's another quarter, and we usually have other opportunities. And also keep in mind that every country has different programs / sectors. So for instance, Morocco is one of the largest posts, and they only have youth in development. For instance, Vietnam, which is a new country, actually, they hopefully would be receiving education volunteers next year, right? But then Zambia has 4 sectors, right? So it really depends on the sector, but also on the country, right? Where you want to serve. But that's a good question. Perfect. Any other question?
Before everyone leaves, I did want to ask you to talk a little bit more about that non-compete status that the students have if they're applying to federal jobs after the experience. From what I can remember, it's a limited time that you have it, but during that time, you're kind of fast-tracked to be considered for a position. The only group of applicants who would be considered in advance of the group would be veterans, right? Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So we provide the NCE status. NCE stands for non-competitive eligibility. So it's like a fast pass when applying to federal jobs. So it's a great way to put your foot in the door. So that's what I did actually. And it's been really beneficial because I do want to pursue a federal career. So it's easier when you are already in the government, right? It's easier to find other positions. It's easier to network and connect with people from other agencies. Also, return volunteers are pretty much in every single federal agency because agencies really love to hire returned volunteers because they know the skill set that we can bring to the table. And yeah, actually veterans get the same advantage. And it's something that I always, talk about because it is a good way to get into the federal government because otherwise it can be a little bit difficult, especially because it's really, really competitive. I know a lot of people do internships first and then they, get a job offer, but that can be also kind of like difficult as well. And it's also very competitive. So I think, having Peace Corps on your radar can be a good way to advance your career in general. A lot of people join the government, but then they, do the private sector for 5 years and then they come back to the government. So it really depends on like what you wanna pursue and what skill sets you wanna gain. And also, oh yeah, the NC is only valid for 1 year, just for 1 year. Yeah. Let's see what else. Is there a limit of how many times you can volunteer? Nope. Actually, that's a good question. You can volunteer as many times as you want. Actually, I would love to serve again. Hopefully in the future when I get my master's and such, but I would really like to serve in Latin America because I think that would be pretty interesting because I already know the language. I'm Costa Rican, so it's going to be a different experience. And also from what I've heard from my Chicanx and Latinx colleagues who served in Latin America, they had a very, very different experience. So I would definitely like to do that in the future again. Is anyone interested in a specific country or sector? Because sometimes it can be overwhelming, right? Because we do have a lot of options, but I am here to support you and to guide you through the application process. Sometimes people are like, Thomas, I studied communications. What can I do? Right? Where can I serve? Or, oh, I studied theater or creative writing. How can I use my skill set, right? So I would be more than happy to guide you through and just, support you in general. Oh, I see Latin America. Perfect. Great. Actually, we have a Peace Corps program in Costa Rica. So if you're interested in Costa Rica, just let me know. But we do have a lot of, we work in a lot of countries in Latin America, Central America and Latin America. Colombia, Paraguay, Peru, Panama, Costa Rica. Guatemala. So we do have a lot of options. So that's great.
All right, well, I think we've reached our time. Thank you very much, Thomas. And thanks for everyone participating with your questions. Again, this session will be put up on our website. So, and you have Thomas's contact information here in the meantime. If we were on campus, Thomas would be hosting office hours in our office.
Yeah,
He
I miss it a
stays,
lot.
yeah, he stays at Cal State Fullerton. So hopefully at some point in the future that we can get him back on campus and meeting with students. But for now, we are thankful to have him in the virtual space. So thank you again. Thank you for staying into the evening. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you'll come out to some of the sessions tomorrow and the next day. But have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas.
You're
I'm going to stop
welcome.
recording. Okay.